An Australian doctor has released a new video from inside ISIS that calls on his medical brothers and sisters to come to Syria and help ISIS in the fight against the West. The blue-eyed doctor, Abu Yusuf from Adelaide, is pictured shown attending to babies in incubators. And he said this: "The Muslims are really suffering, not from lack of equipment or medicine, but from lack of qualified medical care. So I suppose a message I would want to send out to any brothers and sister still living in the West who are considering coming is we really need your help." Now, Dr. Kamle could face up to 25 years imprisonment. However, now this is quite interesting. According to the Australian newspaper, he's actually been branded as a sexually manipulative fraud. And apparently he used to exploit his patients and girlfriends in the name of sexual gratification. So you've got this doctor being used in this propaganda video by ISIS, and they're painting him as, you know, this very clean-cut person, who's, you know, tending to babies, and they're saying, you know, we really need more help over here, more medical staff. And yet the people back home have come out and they've ousted him, and they've said this guy is actually a creep. And there have been reports that he used to go up to women in the medical community and actually creep up behind them and put his exposed penis on their shoulders. So he's been branded a sexual predator, which is kind of funny in my opinion, that ISIS have chosen him for their propaganda video and not really known about his past. What do you think of all this? Is it just propaganda?
I mean, it's hard to say. Assuming that everything that both parties are saying is true, then yeah, it does seem like it's a big problem. We don't know for sure, however, that the photos we're seeing of this guy, incubators, carrying babies, for all we know, that could be completely photoshopped. I highly doubt that ISIS is running facilities that are that well kept and that nice in light of all of the pilfering and pillage that they've done into some of these communities in the Middle East. And as for the doctor himself and whether or not his reputation is really as debunked or poor as, you know, this Australian newspaper has reported, that remains to be seen as well. What we do know, and what we've talked about here on The Lip before, is the reason someone would want, in their right mind, would want to join one of these organizations, and what we've learned, experts have repeatedly said, is that these are usually individuals who are disaffected, people who are searching for meaning and inclusion, while others are essentially looking or searching for redemption. This is an interesting story. I'm not so sure, however, that the claims, especially on the side of ISIS, are absolutely true.
9 other British medical students have reportedly gone out and joined jihadist forces. So there is an issue with people from the West going out to join. And it does raise an interesting question about whether or not we should be helping the innocent babies and mothers, perhaps. Of course, not all women in ISIS are innocent. Some of them are suicide bombers themselves. Often they've been recruited. There was this morning another picture released by ISIS, another propaganda picture of a newborn baby with a grenade and a handgun next to its head. And the caption said that this child will be a risk to you and not just to us. So, you know, they are telling us that even these children are going to be trained to hurt the Western world. Should our medical doctors be giving these children any help?
Well, I think you have to take a step back and look at it from more of a systemic problem. Should the doctors be helping the babies? Well, better question, should we be trying to stem this kind of violence in the first place? In other words, children learn hate and violence before they learn anything. Yeah, I mean, it will be hardwired into them. So do we have an obligation to get in there and try to save these children from becoming victims of ISIS? You know, arguably, you could say, too, that the women and other children that ISIS, in villages where ISIS has invaded, are also victims. But again, there's another question too, which is, where's the outrage from many in the Muslim community about some of the atrocities that ISIS has committed? You know, this is an organization that has burned people alive, that is engaged in these beheadings, and throws people off buildings. For essentially not following, you know, their specific rules or laws, for being homosexual, for being married out of wedlock, things like that. Really brutal stuff. So I think we have an obligation to try to curb this kind of violence, to try to save them before they become victims. You know, in a war zone too, if you're a doctor, and Doctors Without Borders would probably say this, you know, everyone has a right to life, and we should try to save them before they essentially become victims.
A difficult thing to do. These children of ISIS are being trained and groomed and brought up to hate the West. As you mentioned, obviously the best point of call would be to go and save them.
But
will it be possible? The Australian opposition leader has attacked the doctor, and he said that it's unacceptable for an Australian to advocate on behalf of any terrorist group and that the full force of the law will be used against him. So in terms of a doctor going out to help children who might be sick and might need medical care, the Australian Medical Association is apparently outraged by the video. And in terms of stopping our Western people from being radicalized and sent over there, they are now directing programs aiming to stop more young people from joining ISIS. So what do you think of this topic? Is this video, first of all, just propaganda? What do you think of this doctor that's gone over there to help the children? And do the children of ISIS deserve our help? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe and keep watching the Lip TV.